Hello, everyone. I'm Claudiumurgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire Show. And my special guest today is Flowing River. River was born in San Francisco, and while growing up, his father ingrained two things into his mind: never follow the pack, and all that matters are the results. River became an entrepreneur at 20 years old rather than the traditional route of going to college, as society was pressuring him to do. Using his sheer willpower, determination, blood, sweat, and tears to make things happen despite learning along the way without a formal education in business. Drinking alcohol, smoking weed, or simply becoming so busy in his life that he didn't have any time to think about the pain he was experiencing were ways to distract himself. River began searching for the truth in earnest, which led him to a sense of community that he found in the ethos of permaculture and eco-villages. It was living at Finca Morpho, a permaculture farm in Costa Rica, that Derren remembered the truth. The path led him to travel across the world, visiting over 30 countries in a span of 4 years to learn from masters across the world. Learning the tools, techniques, and healing modalities that help us remember the truth that we are, from vocal toning, breathwork, and somatic body healing to meditation, subconscious reprogramming, and polarity flipping. Flowing River has been able to transform a life of difficulty into one of ease, grace, and flow. He now lives in the high mountains of Crestline, California, having learned the tools, techniques, and healing modalities of self-mastery. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, Claudiu, thank you for having me on the show. Super excited to dive deep, so let's go.
I just want to mention that there are also two things I try to ingrain my boys all the time. One is never follow the pack, which is similar to what your father taught you. And the second is never give up. So with this preamble, I'd like to know what business you got into at age 20.
Yeah, when I was 20, I started a business with my girlfriend at the time. We started working with doing photo shoots for families, friends, portraits of their portraits of their pets, of their families, of weddings maybe, and then we would digitize them and turn them into digital art. And we would do all these different layers, changing colors and stylization of the image on Photoshop and create this beautiful memory for people. And back then that would take, 10 hours. Now you just download the app, one press of the finger and voila, it's finished. So we used to charge for that. And that evolved into a creative agency. Later, 5 years down the road, we developed into web development, app development. We were doing graphic design, photo and video work. We had an art gallery. Then we created our own app development company and started putting things out so people could edit their own photos on their phones or edit GIFs and videos and things like that to allow others to express themselves creatively as well. After that was about 10 years into the entrepreneurship. I started on my path of spirituality in earnest.
Interesting. And let's talk about your experience in permaculture and eco-villages in Costa Rica and how exactly you remember the truth.
Yeah, exactly. So perfect segue, because after that entrepreneurial journey of really just, banging my head against the wall, trying to be successful of what society told me, big fancy house and a fast car. And I realized that's not fulfilling. Even though I accomplished those things, it wasn't fulfilling to me. And so I got connected to this permaculture farm called Finca Morpho and went out there for 3 months. And you have to remember, I'm coming from a business world where I'm working like 12 hours a day on the computer to going to a permaculture farm, 14 acres, off grid, very rustic. There's like 20 people there, but it's so beautiful just living with the land, working with the land, growing their own food and living in really like in a harmonious way. You wake up and the beach is there. So you can just walk out into the beach. There's no, and that's how you can wake up. Then during the middle of the day, you're planting some trees and you're working with the land, and the land is working on you. It's healing your body. you know, just from being on a computer all day long, you're like, your spine's getting crunched versus like I'm picking up rocks and digging holes and doing so joyfully because the sun is shining down on you and you're feeling the energy of nature just just being like how we used to be thousands and thousands of years ago, or really honestly maybe even 200 years ago when we would cultivate the land. And so that was incredibly healing. But not only that, but the community there of people that were living this way for many years, you know. So I was able to receive love from the land. I was able to receive love from the community of people. But most importantly, I was also able to give my love to the land, to the people. And that was most important because when I tried to give my love back in my old life, you know, people would take advantage of me. They would bite my hand. They would try to steal from me. They would try to take advantage of my kindness and say that it is weakness, you know. And so I learned over those experiences to like build walls over my heart and protect myself. But here I was able to just let everything down and just feel like, yes, finally be able to take a breath. This is the natural way of living, to give and receive love. It felt so good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wrote about these two different walls, one of spirituality and symbiosis with the environment, with nature, and the other one is the decadent world or the fast-paced world where it's a cutthroat environment. You know, the sharks are all over the place, and all they care about is profit and move forward, stepping on, you know, dead bodies. They really have no sentiment, no empathy for those around them. And it's very important that each of us slowly find our way back to this world, to this web of nature and energy. And these days, I'm going through this process because I live in Panama now. And for the last 4 weeks, I try to get closer to nature, you know, walk on the beach almost daily, walk in the forest. And everyone back home tells me that, you know, you look much more relaxed than before, and I take it as a compliment. And it's good for my body, for my mental capabilities, and also for my spiritual path.
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting with the earth is not only just something that you'll feel better, but it's been scientifically proven. Because when you're inside of modern day society, you're getting inundated with so many what they call EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies.
Yeah.
And this can overwhelm our electrical system because we are electrical beings. And so when you connect to the earth, it allows you to ground and release that energy. Because when you have all that energy inside of your body, you always feel a little bit at dis-ease, like something is just agitating you just a little bit, you know? And so it makes people like in this fast-paced world, they get triggered more easily. They're quicker to react with maybe like anger or something like this, or snap, because they feel like they're always being agitated. And it's true, they are, by the invisible enemy, you know? But when we reconnect with nature, that allows us to slow down and realize that there's actually nowhere really to go. There's nothing to really do except enjoy, you know. And also the sun is very, very powerfully healing. You know, scientifically, this creates like vitamin D within our body, boosts our immune system, reduces inflammation. There's so many positive benefits to receiving the sun at least 30 minutes per day. And of course, everyone's different depending on their complexion. So, you know, tune in and see what feels good for you. But I highly recommend, if possible, to connect with the earth and get back to the forest. Because what is the forest for? It's for rest. So you can go back to your natural state and relax your mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, and I really appreciate if you send a memo to all the medical doctors and, you know, the guys leading all the medical organizations, because they don't mention this type of potential healing. So please do me a favor, send that memo to them. Maybe they will listen to you, because they don't listen to their peers, that's for sure. You traveled you traveled the world for 4 years, and Can you share with us some memorable moments and the teachers you met?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, one of the pivotal moments of awakening and self-remembrance was actually going down to Peru and working with, for me, one of the masters that I've learned from, which is William Lorena and Nila, and they work with the um, you know, different plants there, and they do dietas, and different plants have different energies, and they're all teaching us different things. And Williams worked with the plants for over 40 years. So he's done dieta with 1,000 different herbs and different plants. So he, as far as I'm concerned, he is the plant, and so this is one way to understand deeper, is to take these energies within yourself and allow them to move through your system so that you can assimilate with them. I'll give you an example. When you do dieta, they will do like a tea. So a tea of bobinzana. Bobinzana is a plant that will gently open up your heart. You're not going to have it's not like a psychedelic experience or anything like that. It's just a gentle opening of the heart, and slowly over time, you can integrate these things. When you do the diets, you will eat very simply, maybe just a rice and a plantains, and that's it for several days, maybe even weeks. You can go longer if you wish, but that way you're connecting with this one energy of the plant, and you'll see slowly over time, just like any tea, immediately you're not going to have the healing effect of the tea. Tea works like over a period of a month. It's slow and steady. You will have the tea 3 times a day over a period of a month, and then suddenly you're acting a little bit differently. Now you're a little bit more friendly. Now you're a little bit more compassionate. Now you can feel the joy of life a little bit more, and it's like, oh, how did that happen? It's because, from my understanding of working with them and the plants that they offer, is that over time, you reach homeostasis. That word that you said, symbiosis. If you just bring it in once into your body, then your body's like, oh, okay, I'll take some nutrition, but most of this is waste. I don't understand what to do with this. Your body doesn't understand. But if you keep introducing it over and over and over, eventually, the body will start to recognize it. It will be able to utilize more of its nutrition per se, and your microbiome will actually adjust to be able to assimilate it more. We can see this when people go from eating meat to veganism. If you try to go from eating meat to being vegan overnight, guess what? Your body will reject kale. It will feel like, oh, I'm getting sick or this or that. You're actually detoxing is what's happening. And also the bacteria that is trained to eat the meat cannot process kale as efficiently. So it's creating a lot of gas and things like this. This is why you have a slow, gradual, and eventually you can become vegan. It's the same thing with working with the plants. Slowly, there is a shift. You cannot have an expectation. It will happen over one night. This is why William has dieted for over 40 years. But yeah, it's an incredible experience, because it teaches us as a society, especially in the West, we're always looking for instant gratification. Give me the fix right now, enlightenment now, like what is going to get me there now? And this teaches us, hey, slow down, enjoy the journey, And of course, when you're going with these places, you're in an exotic location. Maybe you're in the Amazonian jungle in Peru, or various locations around the world, sacred sites. So that's always a pleasure to do, and it brings you to deep introspective spaces, like in states of meditation, to really look at yourself, because maybe what the plant is bringing up doesn't necessarily resonate, is the opposite of what its effect is. Like, for instance, this is supposed to open your heart. Well, maybe you will see or remember, a memory where you have not let go of forgiveness yet.
Yeah.
with an ex-girlfriend or something like this. And you'll say, oh, I made a mistake here. And you will have to find forgiveness. So there's a process to it also. You cannot just rely that the plant will do all the work for you. You will also have to go 50% of the way. And if you cannot release that, anger or pain in your heart, then you're just, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're wasting the plant's time. Come prepared.
Yes. Yes. May I say that the plants will usually show you what the soul wants to do and not what the ego wants to do?
Usually what I have experienced with plants is they will bring me to maybe perhaps not what the ego wants to do or is even ready to do, but they will bring me right to the edge. It's like you have free will choice. If you wish to go and release and surrender this attachment that your mind has, you can, and we will support you. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we'll take you just right there so you can see it, then your choice. And there's many people that get scared or afraid and they cannot let go in that moment. That's okay. They're not ready yet. The ego is not ready yet. But there's also the ones that will jump off of the cliff and say, okay, I'm free. Now I'm flying like a bird. So, working with the plants is a good barometer, a test to see where you're at in the spiritual path. If you're truly ready to let go and expand your heart and illuminate your mind, working with the plants may be something that is good for you. It's also can show you if you're not ready, and that's okay to go deeper, because any plant that you work with will take you into the subconscious mind in some way, shape, or form, whether it's subtle or very vivid.
Yes. Have you worked with Nayorao?
Sorry?
Have you worked with the Nayorao plant?
Nairao. I have not heard of this one.
Okay. I know there are two retreats in Peru who work with Nairao. It's Ayahuasca Foundation, I think, and Casa Galactica. They're both working with Nairao, which is a bioluminescent plant, and I heard that has some amazing effects.
Wow, I have not even heard of this. I'll have to look this one up. Thank you.
I will send you the links.
Yes.
So also, have you tried ayahuasca or San Pedro? Were they different than the tea and the plants you used?
Yes, absolutely. So I've worked with both of those medicines before. And for ayahuasca, pretty intimately. She is a beautiful teacher as well. Both of them are unique in their own way. When we talk about going into the subconscious, ayahuasca will certainly take you there. And sometimes, she will show you things that are so beautiful and so lovely, and feelings of joy and bliss and expansion. And this is one way to remember, because it's showing us something that we can bring back to the world that we live in daily, of how we could be, or how, the medicine sees us in our highest form, that we are so filled with this love and this light. And other times it will show, the darkness, all the mistakes that we made in the past, whenever there's still pain, like maybe between you and a relationship that's still ongoing and unresolved, you can believe that it will be shown to you, because she's trying to help us to heal it, so go back there and work in this space, and release your attachment to the story, whatever the story is. So I love working with ayahuasca in that way, in sacred containers with the proper teachers, and that carry it with the right respect, And for San Pedro has been different for me. It's been more about connecting with the earth, getting out to go on hikes or, while working with the medicine. And it has really been about feeling the sense of place, on this earth. And again, this goes back to the word symbiosis and how we can be working in harmony with the mother, so that we're not taking from her and raping her and excavating, but instead through the concepts not only permaculture, but regenerative living, of how we can create systems and design them in a way that it regenerates the earth, it replenishes the earth, so that there is infinite abundance. Because we can do this. It's only our own ignorance as a species that we aren't doing it already. So,
and because you are so sensitive and you have such a powerful contact and connection with Mother Earth, what do you think about these natural events happening all over the world? Devastating fires, floods in Europe, in US. Do you feel that this is a natural process of caused by us, or is something which is artificially created by us as well?
Both. Yes, and more, and all of it. So the way that for me to explain this is as above, as below. And actually, it's very similar to the image that you will see behind you. That piece is alluding to timelines, but the tree of life there shows as above, as below. This is a Hermetic principle. So knowing this inside my own body, when there is pain, it will show up as a knot or as tension, right? And pain is always trying to get your attention, saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. But in my story that you saw, I smoked weed, or I drank alcohol, or I got so busy so that I won't look at the pain. I'll just numb it. But the pain just goes underneath. It doesn't actually solve it. So, in order to release pain, you have to go through it. You have to shake it out or move the energy in some way, right? So when we look at the energy that we're seeping into the totality of all that is, like through our collective imagining, through our daily living experiences, if more people are in pain and they're in suffering and they're always cursing their life and they're mistreating the earth, all of this energy, I'm going to get a little esoteric now. All of this energy is being seeped into the earth, right? And we can imagine, this hasn't been proven by science yet, but this is the way that I understand through meditation, is that all the energies will collect in certain places. Look at a crystal. For instance, we'll talk about citrine. A lot of people say citrine is a stone that represents creativity. So I imagine that people are being creative. The energy is going out because our hearts are amplifiers of intention, right? So that energy goes out. We're like a radio tower. Not only are we receiving, but we're also sending out.
Yes.
And that energy will, through gravity, fall and go into the ground. Then it will collect into a crystal and be called citrine after thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Why does that happen? Because like attracts like. So somewhere in the earth, there is citrine and it's attracting the energy of creativity to it. Well, guess that happens the same way with pain, right? So pain is being collected and stored inside of the earth, and it's creating pressure. And then the pressure will explode. Scientifically, we will say this is like lava or magma through the tectonic plates, and there'll be an earthquake. Really, Mother Earth is just shaking. She's shaking off the density. She's shaking out the pain. She's saying, hey, I don't want to hold this anymore. Thank you for giving it to me, but I'm not your trash can forever, And if we put too much pain into the earth, guess what? She will shake more violently. She will have more explosions, and she will self-regulate and clean herself. So maybe humans will pass. Well, guess what? Then Mother Earth doesn't need to shake anymore. She's at peace. This is just my esoteric understanding of it, of what's happening. And so if humanity chooses to ascend, then the earth will be more peaceful because it will reflect what our collective imagining is, because we will be more peaceful. And if we choose to go down and descend into more chaos and more death and destruction and pain and suffering, and continue the story of being in captivity to our governments. Govern is control, ment is mind. So mind control in plain sight. So if we keep giving all the control to our collective mind rather than living from our collective heart, well, guess what? Mother Earth will help remind us by destroying all of the things that we built for the mind.
Yes. And what your intuition tells you, are we going to ascend anytime soon, or we have to go through many more cycles before a critical mass of us will do that, will ascend?
Okay. So when I tune into it, I desire to say that we are moving into a golden age. I desire to say that anything is possible. I desire to say that humanity will grow out of this temporary disillusion with disempowerment as a whole. That's not what the scriptures say. The scriptures say that we are in the middle of the dark ages and that it will get darker. But what I know is that before every birth, there's a contraction. You want to jump to the next level? Guess what? You got to bend your knees to get down before you can expand and jump up to the next level. So I've seen, just in my short span of life, a couple of expansions and then a contraction with humanity as a whole. Like, for instance, in the last couple of years before this whole COVID thing happened, I started noticing, wow, there's so many people doing yoga now. Wow, there's a lot of people going towards vegetarian or vegan, and there's so many vegetarian and vegan options now. Now, maybe it was a trend in hashtag Instagram, or, you know, it was something cool that they saw on TV, but they were still doing it. And that means if you're doing it, even if you're conscious or unconscious about it, your vibration is being raised just by doing so, right? So we started seeing, okay, transformational music festivals now, big ones, like 40,000 people, 100,000 people. Like, people started reimagining what reality could be. They realized they were dreaming. And so,
plus the psychedelic renaissance.
Exactly, right? So I wasn't around for that one, but if you study that, the exact same thing happened. There was a contraction right after it. Yeah. The contraction was making LSD illegal, making all these psychedelic experiences illegal, mind expansion. And so you're seeing that happen. Now, this way, it couldn't be stopped because it wasn't one thing. It was everybody, and it was everything. The light was bursting forth from their hearts. Yeah. But of course, there's a break glass in case of emergency plan. So we get to experience COVID, right? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to go too much down that rabbit hole. But the thing about that is, it's a contraction. Now, instead of people coming together, and celebrating life and things like that, and the entire economy was being reimagined with cryptocurrency. Yes. And so whenever you approach the ego or your own mind, it's the exact same way, as above, as below, right? You approach an attachment, your attachment will not want to let go. It doesn't want to give up its space in your heart, in your mind, wherever it is. It will stay. Not only will it stay, it will try to convince you that you need it. It will say, don't get rid of me. You're going to die if you get rid of me. So what do you think that the governments and the power structures and institutions are going to tell us as soon as we realize we don't actually necessarily need them in our lives? They're going to say, oh, you're going to die if you don't have me. I'm the one giving you the vaccine. Da, 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 da. It's like, it's the exact same thing. So I see that the ego is being played out on a grander scale, in the collective, and the heart is also being played out on a grander scale in the collective. And we're at this critical point of making that decision. Are we going to get afraid and contract and protect ourselves? Or are we going to say, hey, this doesn't really actually exist in a way. We can actually reimagine how reality can be, and it could be a lot more open, but it takes people to dream in and have the vision, because the majority of people are caught up in paying the bills, doing their daily life and things like this. We cannot expect the general population to be the ones that will lead the charge, but we, as the general population, they can make the choice of this direction or that direction as a mass. And when that mass makes a choice, like collectively, major changes can happen. But in the past, you don't see a lot of drastic changes like that unless there's extreme austerity and people as a whole are faced with major taxation or oppression. It takes a lot to move an entire nation, and these days with fast food and TV and distractions and stuff like that, it takes even more. Because if people knew what was going on, like truly, like there might be riots in the street.
I think that time will come very soon, because again, as you mentioned, not too many people are aware of what's going on, but the limited resources will show up very soon in terms of food supply and any other daily necessities. Will be shortages. I watch various channels, and they show proof of what's going on behind the scene. And of course, these are news or channels which don't get too much visibility due to censorship and other reasons. But yeah, I really repeat this like a broken record, that we don't have to live in fear. And this is what governments pretty much play us on: emotions and fear. And they try to portray themselves as an essential component of our life. And as you mentioned, it's just mind control, and that's not true. If we need a handful of people who should work for us, not us for them. So we'll see how the future will take care of these people. But in the end, as you mentioned, a peaceful compliance, I don't think, or a peaceful resolution might not be enough in this particular case.
Yeah, well, the future is unwritten. Anything can happen. Anything is possible. But what I do know is that every single individual person must make the change within themselves. They cannot wait for the government. They cannot wait for an enlightened being. They cannot wait for Jesus to come and save them. You have to do the healing work within yourself, because when you heal yourself, you heal your family, you heal your community, you heal the world. And that's really all that matters. The other thing that matters is that your money, not how you vote in the voting ballots, your money is your vote. That is wherever you put your money is where something will grow. That is the water in the Garden of Eden. So every single choice, every single company that you choose to invest in, make sure that they're practicing these principles of symbiosis and living in harmony with the earth. Because if you're, putting your money into corporations that are raping the earth, well, that's just more of that will happen. So you can immediately change reality by changing where you put your money and becoming more conscious of that. So those are the two most important things. And of course, as you said, don't live in fear, even though there's all these stories and ideas and concepts, that doom and gloom. And I used to be there myself. It's good to be aware of it, in some capacity, but at the same time, don't go into a cave because it's too dangerous to go outside. Like this is, you must live your life joyfully. Enjoy your life fully and bring that joy in so that other people can remember as well. Because if you go into fear, then other people will get afraid too. So it's good to try to keep the vibration high, and that's going to allow us all to have greater remembrance of what's possible versus getting afraid. And then we start thinking about one thing. When you get fearful, you only think about protecting yourself. So, and that really lowers the vibration of what's possible. So,
yes, and this is what, the time when there is no love. You shut down love spreading, around you, and you shut down your heart, and you are just, as you said, in a shell, trying to deal with your own problems and forget about the community. And as you advise my viewers, buy from local companies, and that will keep them going, because they have so much, they go through so much struggling these days. They have to pay their mortgages while the revenue is pretty much a trickle. So that's also important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll make some friends too, the neighbor down the street versus, a corporate suit that doesn't care about your community. So
yes,
go out there and make some friends.
Yes. River, you're a poet, a visual artist, a dancer, and I watch your videos with exquisite movements. I mean, you're like indeed flowing. You are exuding energy and happiness, and I feel like you're juggling energy balls. Do you allocate more time to one of your talents?
Yes, for poetry or dance or what?
No, I mean, if you allocate more to poetry or to dance or to anything else.
Oh, more of my talents. Yeah, visionary art. You're sitting there in front of some of the visionary art. I love writing parables, so little short stories that come in the form of metaphors to help people, open their hearts. Other things I love to do is like spontaneous improv, acting. That's always really fun. Creating games is another thing. I have 2 games that I'm coming out, the authentic relating games, as well as really at the end of the day, it's all about creative expression. Freestyling, just making up, songs or rapping in the moment and fostering community and things of this nature. But really it's spontaneous, like moment to moment, what feels good to allow to come through and express itself, because I noticed that the divine energies, they love to be fully expressed with no self-limiting belief system that's holding them back from whatever's coming out. It could be wild and wacky, it could be funny, it could be sad, it could be in all these various forms, different faces of God, as you would say. But it's the perfect amount for the perfect time, because you could say the right joke at the wrong time and everyone will get offended.
Yes.
Or you could say the right joke at the right time and everyone's going to laugh. So discerning is the key.
Yes. So do you have any other poetry book coming up?
Yeah. So I've got this poetry book right here that I just released. It's called The Flowing River Poetry Book. It's available on Amazon. It's 144 poems of awakening, a journey from the ego to the center of your heart. So it's a 5-year journey of my own conscious evolution. Up each poem is a staircase up the ladder of ascension. So you could see the evolution of my own consciousness, but I've written it in a way that it's, in a more general sense, because it's a reflection of all of us. We're all humans and we're all going through this thing we call the human experience. So anyone could really relate to it. And I like playing when I'm on podcasts, a little bit like an oracle card reading or Russian roulette, if you wish. So feel free, if you wish, pick a number between 1 and 144, and I can read it for you.
27.
27. 27.
Yeah, it's my wife's upcoming birthday, so that's why I choose the number.
Nice. Well, 27 is called I am. And it's an important part on the path when you declare to the universe what you are. Before you get to that point, everyone else is telling you who you are. Your mom, your dad, society, you're conforming to society, you're still trying to figure out your identity. But eventually you come to a point where you say, I am this, I am that, I am that I am. And it goes like this. I am the truth. I am the light cutting through the night, piercing your soul, strumming the chord of humanity that awakens ancient ideologies, shifting perceived realities as the shimmering waves of heat in the distance, realizing the pinnacle of our existence, the essence of our being, by seeing past the 3D into the infinite fractal nature of me, consciously expanding in all 7 directions simultaneously, reaching for what is already held deep within. We find the key, LOVE, turn it and see. What happens next leaves scientists perplexed. The spark of lightning arcs across the ether to connect 2 points as if joints. Time sinks to synchronistic, surrealistic reality twisted to the riddle in the middle of our souls. Deeper we go down the rabbit hole, never quite knowing the plan, but understand all is revealed in due time as the unfolding of the divine. When we align and follow the signs, taking the path with the heart, we start to tear apart the fabric of reality, replace with our dreams, stitching the seams of streams of life, flowing through the landscape of time with crystalline visions we've held within our minds. So visualize the future and cure the present with your presence. Focusing your attention with the power of intention is the key to Ascension. We rise with the sunrise, the truth reflecting back at me in your eyes, glistening as we begin listening to the rhythm, turning the concept of them into us. We are on the cusp of a breakthrough, but who has the courage to do what it takes to shake the shadows of their souls, clear the fear and the pain to obtain bliss, so that you can unclench your fists and inspire the next 7 generations to hold that vibration of love, compassion, and patience.
Wow, thank you. What can be more beautiful than a poetry read by its creator? Just unbelievable. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure.
And I want to mention that the background is one of your paintings, and I encourage my viewers to go and read the explanation of every single one of them, because it's just unbelievable, detailed, and meaningful. And I will just allow me to read a little bit from the explanation of the one I have as a background. Time is not linear, and neither is your growth. It's exactly what you mentioned before. Your growth is like a step, like a ladder. You go up and up and up. You move through spatial time in 4 dimensions. However, it is possible simply to jump from one point to another. In order to begin that process, you must access the secret, i.e. visualization, however, more accurately, sensual imagination. Very, very interesting, very interesting. So you mentioned that time is not linear. How do you see time from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, time doesn't exist, but it's a concept of the mind. And what you see in that photo behind you is really a representation of all of space and time, right? Our minds cannot comprehend what infinity is. Just try to imagine what infinity is. Your mind, 99.9% of people will not be able to understand what that is. It will just be like, I have nothing for you. I don't even understand how to compute that, right? So the image behind is only for the mind. It is not the actual supreme reality of what exists. It is only so the mind can understand it. So each branch that you will see in the tree, imagine this as a timeline, a river of time. You're born into a specific point in space and time. And Flowing River is born, 1986. There I go, right? And because of my karma, which is my past, my energy stays with me through my lives as I'm going through this river of time. And at 1986, it is time for me to be born here. And I will go like a river through my life. Some are up, some are down, but it's just taking me through this seemingly looks like a root canal or something like this, right? But then you awaken. There's a moment where you have an opportunity and you truly see what is happening. In that moment, you can quantum leap into a new timeline, into a new version of you, into a completely new reality. So for instance, I used to always be in pain in my body, and I'm drinking and smoking marijuana and getting so busy that I don't have time to deal with my pain and numbing myself. I could not feel anything, which meant I could not feel the pain, but I could not feel the joy. Mm-hmm. Right. Then once I awakened, I realized, oh, I can actually let go of all this pain and become something completely brand new. I play 12 instruments right now. Before, I never played one instrument. I had 0 poems. I have like over 1,500 poems in the last 5 years or something like this. It's crazy. I never did art before. Like I never did really those type of creative expressions. I did it for business, but I didn't do it for any other aspect of myself as an artist, right? So you have the opportunity to release who you think you are, your old river that you were going on, right? And imagine a new version of yourself. Now, the technique of going from this to that, I cannot say in this podcast. This is something that each individual soul will have to remember for themselves. Why? Because who wants to know the end of a movie? I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you. The great mystery loves to be a mystery, even to itself. So you never really want to know. You might read a bunch of books and try to figure it out, but you can't know by reading books. You can only know by direct experience, by experiencing it yourself. But I want to let everyone know that the impossible is possible. Okay. Even in the word impossible, it says I'm possible, right? It's telling you right there. So anything that you desire to be can be if you wish it, because you got to remember when you're a little kid, everyone's telling you, yeah, you could be a president. You could be, you can go to the moon, whatever you want to do. Like, right. Mm-hmm. And then as you go through society, and you start identifying with yourself, you're like, oh, I'm not president. I'm just working 9 to 5. I could never be president. Who made that decision? You did, right? So if you want to be president, just start changing the way that you view yourself. That's like step 1. That's what is the visualization, right? Yeah. But there are ways to do this quicker, slower, but the way it works is that the quicker you do it, the more energy you have to move. And the more energy you move, the more intense it is. So it's, there are infinite ways through the infinite maze of the process of ascension. And there are 3 primary paths of ascension. 1 is the mental plane through meditation and subconscious reprogramming. 2 is the emotional plane through bhakti yoga, devotional yoga, karma yoga, which is doing the good works, selfless service to the community and the path of the heart. And then there's the physical plane of ascension, which is through the body, moving through all of your pain, releasing it through different tools and techniques like somatic body healing and things of that nature. So, each of those pathways offer infinity number of healing modalities, but what every healing modality really is doing is surrendering and letting go of who you think you are so that you could be who you truly are, have been, and forever will be. Because we're all like onions. We have so many layers around our heart, and we peel back one layer and we become more and more and more of what we truly are, or what we could imagine ourselves to be. It's up to you if you want to use the mind or you want to use the heart ultimately. But let me just tell you, the heart is the place you want to be.
Yeah. So Donkey from Shrek was right when he said that Shrek, in fact, is like an onion. You peel each layer and to find more and more kindness and good things within. Okay, so Shrek didn't want to acknowledge that. And to make another comparison, in fact, recently last week I was on the top of a volcano in Panama, and I was thinking while there, I was thinking that we went by 4x4, so we drove up. It was a very rough drive, and then I realized we took the car. Some people were walking on the same path. I could have taken maybe the helicopter to get there faster, and was another road, another path from the other side of the volcano, which we saw on a previous day, which is the hardest part, like 6 or 7 hours of hiking. At one point, you have to create a camp and rest there, and so you reach the same point, the same tip, the same location, but the paths are different. Depends on which one you want to take and how much effort you want to put into. It's exactly what you said. Yes, very nice.
Exactly, and that's a beautiful observation, because that's exactly what it is. And the path of least resistance, if you want the absolute easiest path, I will tell you it right now. The easiest path is to work with somebody that's already made it all the way through. What do I mean by that? I mean by working with a master, a spiritual master, an enlightened master, because they've already walked the pathway, and they can give you the tools and techniques immediately to help you, grow and expand. And they will tell you, just put your foot where my footprint is. That's it. I've already climbed the mountain. All you must do is put your foot in my footprint and you'll be safe. Of course, you can go outside, but outside results may vary. It's always, there's always attraction, distractions, and confusions of heart contusions out there. So it's easy to get sucked up into getting pulled off of the path if you're a true spiritual seeker. So one of my favorite things to tell people is also that's so important is Sangat, or Sangha in Buddhism, which means community. It's so important to surround yourself with other people that are also on the path of ascension, because they can not only reflect back to you or give you other tools and techniques, but give you support too when you go up and down. So that way you can be more stable in your pathway. It doesn't have to feel, a lot of people I see on the internet, a lot of people are always saying, oh, the spiritual path is so hard. Yes and no, it doesn't have to be hard. What you mean to say is my spiritual path is so hard. I've heard, and I look at my own, and my own was, yes, I had to face very difficult things, but there is a way to face very difficult things with ease, grace, and flow. And also I've seen other people's lives where they grow up in the company of saints and they have a very beautiful life with no real major issues, but they've already done the work probably in a previous life. So there's no comparison. Everyone's just blossoming at their own pace,
Yes, and my closest example to someone who following in the footsteps of his guru is Paramahansa Yogananda. He really listened step by step to his Guru Swami Shiv Teshwarji, and he became enlightened. And he was able to create a whole movement in 1920, in the 20s in North America. And to me, it's one of the few Hindu people or gurus who came from India and didn't create any animosity, didn't create any rumors and conflict. He just stayed on his path, knowing what he has to achieve, what he was told to achieve. That's to me, it's a great example of what he was able to do by listening to his guru.
Yeah. And the art of listening is the art of surrender. It's letting go what you think your mind says is this is the right way. Sometimes when you will receive guidance, whether it's internally from your intuition or from your teacher, guru, guide, externally, the mind may come into play and you will question it. But what is questioning? Questioning is doubt. So the moment that you start doubting, you have already lowered your vibration. And so it's really attunement to perfect surrender. How can I have perfect surrender, which leads me to perfect trust, which leads me to perfect support, that the universe is exactly giving me what I need right now in this moment. So it is certainly an art form, and it takes most of us not listening many times to learn the hard way that, oh, your intuition, you told me go right, I went left, bing, hit my head.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. Oh, okay. Next time I will listen. Oh, intuition, you told me go left, I went right, ding. Okay. Next time I will listen. How many times do you have to hit your head until you will actually truly listen? For me, it must have been 100,000 times. I don't know, but eventually you will get there. And when you start listening, things start getting really easy.
Yes, I mean, I was, so let not pat myself on the shoulder, but I was smart enough to listen to plant medicine pretty much on the second try,
Nice.
because I realized that there is something there which doesn't work if I don't listen. So things have changed quickly when I open up and I said, okay, let's take this path. It's a little bit scary, it's unsure, but I'll do it regardless because this is what I was told. So I am following the path right now, step by step, and just looking around, taking everything in as I move along.
Congratulations and
Thank
great
you.
work. Yeah. A big part of working with the plant master teachers, the first thing they will teach you is how to surrender. And if you don't, then you will make it much more difficult for yourself.
Yeah. River, I'd like to go a little bit deeper into the programs you're offering.
Sure. One of the primary programs I'm offering right now is howtoraiseyourvibration.com. So a lot of the healing modalities and techniques that I've been alluding to can be found through this program, and it's through the physical plane of ascension. So it's not for everybody. You have to find what healing modality resonates with you. But if you're the type of person that likes to see the results happen and the transformation happen within your body, and you can tell that you're getting lighter and that you're clearing your channel, and to release the pain within yourself, then this might be the path for you, because it's for yang techniques, masculine approach to healing. So that means we go directly to our pain. We change our entire relationship from running away from it to understand that the only way out is through our pain. So we face it with courage and bravery and love and acceptance and forgiveness. And there's 4 primary techniques. One is shaking. Maybe a lot of people have done this in, yoga class or Osho meditation or something like this, but maybe they only did it for 5 or 10 minutes. There's an entire, Kriya set, like asana set, that I've intuitively received over these years of my own self-healing to literally shake out any part of the body and release pain and tension there. And there's certain breathing patterns with it, different styles of shaking, ways to do it safely. There's also an understanding that, what does the collective consciousness say about shaking? That's funny. You stub your toe when you're a little kid, your mom will say, shake it off, shake it off. Then Taylor Swift will break up with her new boyfriend. She will say, shake it off in her song, So, but there's science behind this also, because if you look at a gazelle in the savannah, the scientists have observed this. The gazelle is running across the African plains. The lion's about to make a jump and eat it for dinner. And guess what? At the last second, the lion trips and smacks his face in the ground, and the gazelle gets away. Now, the gazelle just faced a life-threatening experience. Like, if any human faced that, it will be imprinted in us. Most likely we'll be telling that story for the rest of our lives. But you know what the gazelle does? The gazelle goes into a little safe space, and he immediately starts violently shaking for like 90 seconds. And literally will shake all that energy out and ground it into the earth, and then just trot off like nothing ever happened. Comes right back to pure presence. And so we can learn from nature that, why are we holding all these things within our body? All these attachments, these stories, these ideas, these concepts that keep us from the present moment. Instead, our past comes into our present and veils us. So now we're not truly, acting from the present. I'll give you an example. For instance, a girlfriend cheats on you, you get a new girlfriend. Guess what? Now your past girlfriend cheated on you is coming into your present moment. She's not there anymore, but your thought is, well, what if my new girlfriend would cheat on me? And that is pain that's stored inside of your body. And that is what shaking, resistance training, vocal toning, and different breath work can do to help you uninstall and release this so that you can go back to your true state of being a happy ball of, joyful energy that is really just expressing your true self. So, there's a lot more to it. I'm not sure how deep you want me to get into it, but that's kind of the synopsis.
Thank you. I'll post the link for people to visit the website and get more details. River, we are approaching the end of the interview. Any final words?
The only thing that came to my mind is I love you. I truly love you guys, and and you as well for putting on this show and just having me, and allowing people to express themselves and getting this information out. Thank you so much for your service and what you mean to your community and your family. So yeah, everyone just keep on growing, glowing, and showing the way.
Thank you very much. I love you too, and I love your work, and I will try to post it as much as possible because it's just incredible. The creativity and the talent God put into your frame and in your soul is just unbelievable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to my guests, thank you for watching. Like the video, share it. Support me on patreon.com/claudiumurgan. Get a free copy of my book when you visit my website. And until next time, love and gratitude.